The first contraction hits while Leona Frost is tying dead branches together with shaking hands. She stops, breathes through her teeth, waits for the pain to pass. It does not pass quickly. Her belly is swollen and heavy, pressing against the ragged fabric of her coat. Her fingers are numb from the cold, clumsy as she tries to knot the twine around another branch. The cabin she is building leans dangerously to one side, a skeletal frame of rotted wood and desperate hope. She knows it will not hold. But lying down would mean surrender, and Leona has already been abandoned once. The northern wilderness stretches endlessly around her. Trees stand like silent sentinels, their bare branches clawing at the gray sky. Snow gathers in the air, small flakes that drift lazily at first, then faster. The wind carries the sharp promise of a storm. Leona drags another branch across the frozen ground. Her back screams in protest. Her legs tremble. She ignores both and keeps moving. She is 22 years old. She should be somewhere warm right now, somewhere safe. Instead, she is alone in the forest, 9 months pregnant, building a shelter from broken branches because she has nowhere else to go. Richard Porter made sure of that. The memory surfaces unbidden, sharp as the wind cutting through her coat. 3 weeks ago, she stood in his study. Her hands rested on her belly, feeling the child move inside her. She had come to tell him the truth, to ask for help, to believe that the man who claimed to love her would stand beside her. She was wrong. You cannot stay here. His voice was cold, distant, as if she were a stranger and not the woman who had shared his bed for months. Do you understand what this would do to my reputation? To my standing in the pack? This is your child, Leona said quietly. A mistake. Richard did not look at her when he spoke. He stared at the papers on his desk instead, as if they were more important than the life growing inside her. I have responsibilities, a position to maintain. I cannot afford to be associated with this. With me, yes. The word landed like a blow. Leona felt something break inside her chest, something that had nothing to do with bones or flesh. Leave, Richard said, before anyone else finds out, before this becomes worse than it already is. She left, not because he told her to, but because staying would have meant begging, and Leona had already decided she would never beg again. So she walked into the wilderness with nothing but the clothes on her back and a pack of supplies she stole from the storage shed. She walked until her feet bled, until the packlands were far behind her, until she could no longer hear the sounds of civilization. And then she kept walking. Now, 3 weeks later, she stands in a clearing she claimed as her own, building a cabin that will not survive the first strong wind. But she is still standing. Another contraction rolls through her, stronger this time. Leona gasps and clutches the nearest tree, pressing her forehead against the rough bark. Her breath comes in sharp bursts. The child inside her shifts, restless and demanding. Not yet, child, she whispers. Please, not yet. She has been speaking to the child more often lately, promising things she is not sure she can deliver. Safety, warmth, a future. The contraction fades slowly, leaving her weak and shaking. Leona straightens carefully. Her hands return to the branches. She ties another knot, then another. The shelter grows inch by stubborn inch. It is ugly and crooked and fragile, but it is hers. The forest around her is too quiet. She noticed it an hour ago but ignored it, too focused on her work to care. Now, as she pauses to catch her breath, the silence presses against her like a living thing. No birds, no rustling in the underbrush, nothing. Leona turns slowly, scanning the tree line. She sees nothing, but the feeling of being watched crawls across her skin, raising the hair on the back of her neck. Hello? Her voice sounds small in the vast emptiness. No answer. She waits, listens. The wind whispers through the branches, carrying the scent of snow and pine. Leona tells herself she is imagining things. Exhaustion and fear are playing tricks on her mind. There is nothing out there, but deep in her gut, she knows better. Something is watching. She forces herself to turn back to the cabin. Her hands shake as she reaches for another branch. The twine slips through her fingers. She curses quietly and tries again. The sky darkens. The snow falls harder now, covering the ground in a thin white blanket. The temperature drops. Leona works faster, her movements frantic. She needs walls. She needs a roof. She needs shelter before nightfall, before the storm truly begins, before the next contraction comes. It comes anyway. This one doubles her over. She cries out, unable to stop herself, and drops to her knees in the snow. Her hands clutch her belly. The pain is a vice, tightening and tightening until she cannot breathe. Tears slip down her cheeks. She does not bother wiping them away. "Please," she whispers to the child, to the forest, to whoever might be listening. "Please, just a little longer." The pain slowly releases its grip. Leona stays on her knees, gasping, trembling. She looks up at the half-built cabin, at the broken branches leaning against each other, at the dream of safety that is crumbling before it even fully exists. She thinks about Richard, about the way he looked at her like she was a problem to be solved, about the cold dismissal in his voice. She thinks about the pack she left behind, about the whispers that would have followed her if she had stayed. Damaged, shameful, weak, but she is not weak. Leona pushes herself to her feet. Her legs shake, her back aches. The child inside her presses downward, demanding to be born. She picks up another branch. She ties another knot. She keeps building, because lying down would mean surrender. And Leona Frost has already decided she would rather die standing than live on her knees. The forest watches in silence, and somewhere beyond the trees, silver eyes observe her struggle with something that might be respect. "Hey, quick question, how are you feeling today? Thank you so much for being here. It really means the world to me." If this story of the abandoned Omega who built her cabin from broken branches and became the Alpha King's chosen mate moved you, please hit that subscribe button for Ariel Romance Library. Smash the like, and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. It helps more than you know. Alright, thank you. Now let's get back to what happens when the woman left to die becomes the one the Alpha King descends from the mountains to protect. Dylan Thorne should not be here. He stands in the shadow of an ancient pine, perfectly still, watching the Omega struggle with branches that will never hold against the coming storm. His breath does not fog in the cold air. His heart beats slow and steady, the rhythm of a predator who has learned perfect patience. He has been watching her for 2 days. It started by accident. He was running his territory, checking the borders as he does every week. The northern wilderness belongs to him, has belonged to his bloodline for generations. He knows every tree, every stream, every hidden valley. And then he found her, a pregnant Omega, alone, dragging herself through the snow like a wounded animal. She should not have been able to make it this far into his lands. Most wolves would have turned back long before reaching this deep wilderness, but she kept going. Dylan followed at a distance, curious despite himself. He watched her choose this clearing, watched her begin gathering branches, watched her attempt the impossible with bleeding hands and stubborn determination. He should have revealed himself immediately, should have demanded to know why she was trespassing on his territory, should have sent her back to whatever pack foolish enough to let a pregnant Omega wander away, but he did not. Instead, he watched and waited and tried to understand why he could not seem to walk away. Now, as another contraction forces her to her knees, Dylan feels something stir in his chest, something he has not felt in years. The urge to protect. It is dangerous, complicated, against every rule he has set for himself. Dylan Thorne does not interfere. He observes. He maintains distance. He rules his territory with strength and fairness, but he does not involve himself in personal matters. He learned long ago that attachment leads to weakness, and weakness leads to death. Yet here he stands, unable to leave. The Omega rises again. She picks up another branch. Her movements are slower now, unsteady. She will not last much longer. Dylan shifts his weight slightly, considering his options. He could leave, walk away, and pretend he never saw her. Let nature take its course. It would be cleaner that way, simpler, but the child. He can sense the life growing inside her, even from this distance. Strong, vital, demanding to be born soon. If he leaves, they will both die tonight. The storm is coming. He can smell it in the air, feel it in the shift of the wind. By nightfall, the temperature will drop below freezing. The snow will fall thick and fast, burying everything in white silence. Her pathetic shelter will collapse within the first hour. Dylan closes his eyes, takes a breath, makes a decision he knows he will regret. He will not let her die, but he will not reveal himself yet either. First, he needs to know more. Who she is, why she is here, what drove her into his territory, pregnant and alone. He moves through the forest like a shadow, circling her clearing. His pack is nearby, waiting for his call. They always are, 20 wolves, loyal and fierce, ready to follow him anywhere. He reaches out mentally, touching the minds of his second and third. "Come," he sends, "but stay hidden. We have a situation." Their acknowledgement comes immediately, wordless and certain. Dylan returns his attention to the Omega. She has managed to prop up 2 more branches, creating a sad approximation of a wall. She steps back to examine her work, and even from this distance, he can see the despair on her face. She knows it is not enough. Another contraction hits. This one drives her to her hands and knees. She cries out, a sound of pain and frustration that echoes through the empty forest. Dylan's hands curl into fists. His wolf pushes against his control, demanding action. Not yet. The Omega stays down longer this time. Her breathing is ragged. Her whole body trembles. When she finally raises her head, Dylan sees tears on her cheeks, but she does not give up. She crawls to the nearest branch, pulls it toward the shelter, keeps building even though she can barely move. Dylan has seen many displays of strength in his life. Warriors who fought through impossible odds, alphas who refused to yield even as they bled, survivors who crawled through fire to reach safety. But this Omega, this fragile creature with broken branches and bleeding hands, shows more courage than any of them. She is building a home for her child, knowing it will fail, doing it anyway, because what else can she do? The snow falls harder now. The wind picks up, howling through the trees. The storm is arriving faster than Dylan anticipated. He makes his decision. The Omega collapses again. This time, she does not get up. She lies on her side in the snow, one hand pressed to her belly, the other stretched toward the unfinished shelter. Dylan steps out of the shadows. His pack emerges with him, 20 wolves materializing from the forest like ghosts. They move in perfect synchronization, disciplined and deadly. But tonight, they are not here to hunt. Dylan's second, Marcus, stops beside him. "Alpha, build her a shelter," Dylan says quietly. "A real one. Now." Marcus does not question the order. None of them do. Within seconds, the pack scatters into action. Some disappear into the forest, returning with straight timber instead of broken branches. Others clear the ground, creating a solid foundation. 2 start a fire using dry wood they find beneath the protective cover of nearby trees. Dylan walks forward alone. The Omega does not notice him at first. Her eyes are closed, her breathing labored. He kneels in the snow beside her, close enough to feel the heat radiating from her feverish skin. "Do not be afraid," he says. Her eyes snap open. They are green, bright even in the dimming light. For a moment, she simply stares at him, too shocked to react. Then she tries to scramble away. Pain stops her. She gasps and clutches her belly, another contraction locking her in place. Dylan does not move. He keeps his hands visible, his posture non-threatening. "I am not here to hurt you. Who are you?" Her voice is rough with pain and fear. "Dylan Thorne." The name means nothing to her. Good. That makes this simpler. "Why are you here?" she asks. "Because you need help." "I did not ask for help." "No," Dylan agrees. "You did not." Behind him, timber falls to the ground as his pack works. The sound of construction fills the clearing, loud and purposeful. The Omega's eyes widen. "What are they doing?" "Building you a shelter. A real one. I do not want." Another contraction cuts off her words. She curls into herself, biting back a scream. Dylan reaches out slowly and places a hand on her shoulder. The touch is light, grounding. "Breathe through it. It will pass." She does not pull away. She cannot. The pain has her trapped. Dylan stays beside her, silent and steady, until the contraction fades. When she can breathe again, she looks at him with confusion and suspicion. "Why would you help me?" It is a fair question. Dylan does not have a good answer. "Because you deserve to survive," he says finally. It is not the whole truth, but it is not a lie either. The Omega studies his face, searching for deception. Whatever she sees there must satisfy her, because some of the tension leaves her body. "My name is Leona," she says quietly. Leona. Dylan tastes the name. It fits her. Strong and fierce despite everything trying to break her. Behind them, the cabin begins to take shape. His pack works with practiced efficiency, raising walls and securing a roof. The fire grows stronger, pushing back the cold. Leona watches in stunned silence. Tears slip down her cheeks again. But these are different. Not despair. Something closer to hope. "I cannot pay you," she whispers. "I am not asking for payment." "Then what do you want?" Dylan meets her eyes. "Right now, I want you to survive the night. It is the truth. Everything beyond that, he will figure out later." The storm breaks overhead. Snow falls in thick sheets, but the fire burns bright. The cabin stands strong. And Dylan Thorne, Alpha King of the Northern Territories, kneels beside an abandoned Omega and makes a choice that will change everything. The cabin rises impossibly fast. Leona watches through waves of pain as Dylan's pack transforms her broken shelter into something real. Timber replaces branches. Skilled hands replace desperate hope. Within an hour, walls stand firm against the wind. A roof shelters against the snow. A door fits snugly in its frame. She should be grateful. She is grateful, but fear runs deeper than gratitude. Another contraction tears through her, stronger than any before. Leona cries out despite herself, curling forward as her body demands what it has been building toward for hours. The child is coming. Now. Dylan appears beside her immediately. "We need to get you inside. I can walk." The words come out between gritted teeth. "I know you can." His voice is calm, certain, "But you do not have to." Before she can protest, he lifts her carefully. One arm beneath her knees, the other supporting her back. He carries her as if she weighs nothing at all. Leona wants to argue, wants to prove she can still stand on her own. But another wave of pain silences her protest. The inside of the cabin is warm. The fire blazes in a stone hearth someone built while she was not looking. Furs cover the floor. A pile of clean cloth sits in the corner. Dylan lowers her gently onto the furs. "Better?" "No," Leona gasps as pressure builds low in her spine. "Nothing is better right now." A ghost of a smile crosses his face. "Fair enough." The pack moves around them with quiet efficiency. Someone brings water. Someone else adds wood to the fire. They do not speak, do not intrude, but their presence is a comfort she did not know she needed. Dylan kneels beside her. "Have you done this before? What do you think?" Leona manages to glare at him through the pain. "Then we will figure it out together." His confidence should annoy her. Instead, it steadies something inside her chest. The contractions come faster now, leaving less time to breathe between them. Leona loses track of minutes and hours. Time becomes meaningless, measured only in waves of pain that crash over her again and again. Through it all, Dylan stays beside her. He does not try to take control, does not act like he knows better. He simply remains present, a solid anchor in the storm. When she needs to grip something, he offers his hand. When she needs to scream, he does not flinch. When she needs silence, he gives it without question. I hate him, Leona gasps between contractions. She does not say Richard's name, but Dylan seems to understand. The father? He threw me away. The words taste bitter. Called our child a mistake. Said I would ruin everything he built. Dylan's jaw tightens. Then he is a fool. He is afraid. Fear is not an excuse. Leona looks at him through tears. You do not even know me. Why do you care? Dylan is quiet for a long moment. When he speaks, his voice is low and honest. Because you did not give up. You could have. No one would have blamed you. But you kept building that shelter even when your body was breaking. That takes strength most people never find. Something cracks open inside Leona's chest. Not just gratitude, something deeper. Before she can respond, another contraction hits. This one is different, urgent, final. I think she cannot finish the sentence. Her body takes over, pushing with an instinct older than thought. Dylan moves quickly. Marcus, I need clean water and cloth. Now. His second appears at the door, arms full of supplies. He sets them down and retreats immediately, giving them privacy. You can do this, Dylan says firmly. I am right here. Leona does not remember making the decision to trust him, but somewhere in the pain and fear, she already has. She bears down with everything she has left. Her vision blurs. Her muscles scream. The world narrows to this moment, this push, this singular purpose. Again, Dylan's voice cuts through the haze. You are almost there. Leona pushes again. And again. Each effort tears something from deep inside her, some reserve of strength she did not know existed. And then, suddenly, release. The pressure vanishes, the pain shifts, and a new sound fills the cabin. A cry. Small and furious and perfect. Leona collapses back against the furs, gasping. Her whole body trembles with exhaustion, but her ears focus on that sound, that proof of life. Dylan moves with surprising gentleness. He cleans the infant with practiced care, wraps the tiny body in soft cloth. When he finally places the baby in Leona's arms, his expression is unreadable. A daughter, he says quietly. Leona looks down at the child and feels her entire world shift. Red-faced and angry, covered in dark downy hair, she is the most beautiful thing Leona has ever seen. Tears stream down her face. Hello, little one. The baby quiets at her voice, small fists waving, searching for comfort. Leona pulls her close, skin to skin, and something inside her clicks into place. This is what she fought for. This is why she refused to give up. Not for Richard, not for the pack that rejected her. For this tiny life that depends on her completely. She is strong, Dylan observes. His voice carries something that might be wonder. I can feel it already. Leona looks up at him. This strange alpha who descended from the trees with timber and wolves, who stayed beside her through the worst of it, who kneels now with reverence in his eyes. Thank you, she whispers. I would have died without you. You survived 3 weeks alone in the wilderness while pregnant. Dylan shakes his head slowly. I think you would have found a way, but they both know the truth. Without his help, without his pack, the storm would have claimed them both. Outside, the wind howls, snow piles against the walls, but inside the cabin, fire burns bright. Warmth fills the space. Dylan rises slowly. I will leave you to rest. Wait, Leona surprises herself with the word. Will you stay, just for a little while? She expects him to refuse. He is an alpha, a king, if his bearing is any indication. He has responsibilities beyond playing nursemaid to an abandoned Omega. But Dylan settles back down beside her without hesitation. I will stay as long as you need. His presence should make her uncomfortable. She barely knows him, but exhaustion overwhelms caution. Leona closes her eyes, her daughter warm against her chest, and lets herself rest. For the first time in 3 weeks, she feels safe. Dylan watches the firelight dance across her face, watches the steady rise and fall of her breathing, watches the child she refused to abandon finally sleep in peace. And he knows, with absolute certainty, that everything just became far more complicated, because this is not just protection anymore. This is the beginning of something that could shatter the careful distance he has maintained for years. Outside, his pack settles around the cabin, guarding, waiting for orders. Dylan does not give any. He stays beside Leona through the night, keeping watch over the woman and child who stumbled into his territory and changed everything. Dawn arrives gray and cold. Leona wakes to the sound of crackling fire and gentle breathing. For a moment, she forgets where she is. Her body aches in unfamiliar ways, heavy with exhaustion. Then memory returns. The storm, the birth, the impossible shelter that rose around her. She opens her eyes. Dylan sits against the opposite wall, his gaze on the flames. He looks like he has not slept, though his posture shows no signs of weariness. Alert and watchful even in stillness, her daughter sleeps against her chest, warm and perfect. Leona's hand moves instinctively to cradle the small head. "Good morning." Dylan's voice is quiet, careful not to disturb the child. "You stayed." Leona is surprised by how much this matters. "I said I would. Most people say things they do not mean. I am not most people." "No, he certainly is not." Leona shifts carefully, wincing at the soreness. Everything hurts, but it is the kind of pain that comes with survival. She is alive. Her daughter is alive. That is all that matters. "How are you feeling?" Dylan asks. "Like I gave birth in a forest." A weak laugh escapes her. "But better than yesterday. That is a low bar." "True." Silence settles between them. Not quite comfortable, but not hostile either. Outside, she can hear movement. Footsteps crunching through snow. Low voices conferring. "Your pack is still here," Leona says. "They will not leave until I tell them to." "And when will that be?" Dylan meets her eyes. "When I am certain you are safe." "I am safe now. You built me a cabin, helped me through labor. I can manage from here." She does not sound convincing, even to herself. Dylan does not argue. He simply asks, "Can you?" Leona looks down at her daughter. So small, so helpless, completely dependent on her for everything. "I have to," she whispers. "That is not an answer. It is the only one I have." Dylan rises smoothly and crosses to the fire. He adds wood, then turns to face her fully. "I want to understand something. Why did you come to the Northern Territories? Why not seek help from another pack?" Leona's jaw tightens. "There was no other pack. You came from somewhere. Someone cast you out." "Yes. Who?" She does not want to answer, does not want to speak Richard's name in this warm space that feels almost sacred. But Dylan has earned honesty. "Richard Porter, Beta of the Eastern Ridge Pack." The words taste like ash. "He was my mate, or I thought he was. He rejected you. He rejected his child." Leona's voice hardens. "He said she would destroy his reputation, that people would question his judgment for being involved with someone like me, someone like you. An Omega without family, without status, without anything to offer except myself." She laughs bitterly. Turns out that was not enough. Dylan is quiet for a long moment. When he speaks, his voice carries cold fury. He deserves to bleed for this. The words should frighten her. Instead, they spark something warm in her chest. "Maybe," Leona says, "but I cannot afford to think about revenge. I have to focus on survival. You do not have to do it alone. I do not have a choice." "There is always a choice." Dylan crouches in front of her, bringing their eyes level. "You could stay here, under my protection." Leona's breath catches. "Why would you offer that?" "Because you need help, and I have the means to provide it. Nothing is free." "What do you want in return?" It is a fair question, one born from hard experience. Men like Richard taught her that kindness always comes with conditions. But Dylan does not look offended. If anything, he seems to appreciate her suspicion. "I want you and your daughter to survive," he says simply. "That is all. You do not know me. I know you refused to give up even when death was certain. I know you built shelter with bleeding hands. I know you would have died before abandoning your child." His gaze is steady, honest. That is enough. Leona wants to believe him. More than anything, she wants to trust that this offer is real. But trusting Richard nearly destroyed her. "What about your pack?" she asks. "Will they accept me? They follow my lead. If I say you are under my protection, no one will challenge it. And the other alphas? The ones who will hear about this?" Dylan's expression darkens. "Let them hear. Let them come. I do not answer to them." The confidence in his voice should sound arrogant. Instead, it sounds like simple fact. "You would risk conflict for an Omega you just met?" "Yes." One word. No hesitation. Leona studies his face, searching for deception or hidden motive. She finds neither. Only certainty, and something that might be protective instinct. Her daughter stirs against her chest, making small sounds of hunger. Leona shifts her carefully, helping her latch. The sensation is strange but right. Dylan looks away respectfully, giving them privacy despite the intimacy of the moment. "I do not understand you," Leona says quietly. "What is there to understand? You are an alpha, a powerful one, I think. You could have anyone, do anything. Why waste your time on me?" Dylan is silent for a long moment. When he speaks, his voice is low and thoughtful. "Do you know what I saw when I first found you in the forest?" Leona shakes her head. "I saw someone fighting against impossible odds, refusing to quit even when quitting made sense." He pauses. "Most people would have curled up and waited for death. You picked up branches and started building. That is rare, worth protecting. I am not special. You are wrong." The words are simple, final. Dylan delivers them like facts rather than compliments. Leona feels something shift inside her chest. Not love, not yet, but the beginning of trust, fragile and tentative. "If I stay," she says carefully, "I will not be your property. I do not want property. I want you safe. And if someone comes looking for me? If Richard changes his mind?" Dylan's smile is cold and sharp. "Then he will learn why challenging me is a mistake." The threat should sound violent. Instead, it sounds like a promise. Leona makes her decision. "All right," she whispers. "We will stay. For now." Relief flashes across Dylan's face, gone so quickly she almost misses it. "Good." He rises and moves to the door. "I will have Marcus bring food. You need to eat." "Dylan?" He pauses, looking back. "Thank you," Leona says, "for everything." His expression softens. "You do not need to thank me for doing what is right." Then he is gone, leaving her alone with her daughter and the warmth of the fire. Leona looks around the cabin, at the solid walls, at the clean furs, at the proof that sometimes, against all odds, help arrives when you need it most. She does not know what the future holds, does not know if this fragile safety will last. But for now, in this moment, she lets herself hope. 5 days pass in a strange rhythm of recovery and wariness. Leona learns the patterns of the cabin, the way morning light filters through cracks in the timber, the sound of wolves moving around the perimeter, the particular cadence of Dylan's footsteps before he knocks. He visits twice a day, morning and evening, never stays long, always asks if she needs anything. His pack brings supplies, food, water, firewood. They leave everything outside the door and disappear before she can thank them. Ghosts in the snow. Her daughter, still unnamed, grows stronger. She nurses well, sleeps fitfully, and when she is awake, her eyes track movement with surprising focus. Leona tries not to think about how dependent she has become, how quickly she adapted to safety, how much harder it will be if this all disappears. On the 6th morning, Dylan arrives earlier than usual. Leona is awake, feeding her daughter by the fire. She does not bother to cover herself anymore when he enters. Something about the clinical nature of his presence makes modesty feel unnecessary. "Good morning," she says. Dylan nods in greeting. He carries a bundle wrapped in cloth. "I brought something. More food? Clothes. For you and the child." He sets the bundle down carefully. "Yours are falling apart." Leona glances at her torn coat, her stained shirt. He is right. She has been living in the same garments for weeks. "Thank you. There is also this." Dylan produces a small carved figure from his pocket. A wolf, rendered in smooth wood with careful detail. For her, when she is older. Leona takes the carving, turning it over in her hands. The craftsmanship is impressive. Each line deliberate and precise. "You made this? Last night. It is beautiful." Dylan shifts his weight, almost uncomfortable. She should have something to remember this time. The gesture touches something deep in Leona's chest. This fierce alpha, carving toys in the darkness for a child who is not his. "You are kind," she says quietly. "Kinder than I expected." "What did you expect?" Someone demanding, controlling, someone who would want something in return for all this help. "I told you what I want. Your safety. I am starting to believe you." Their eyes meet across the fire. The moment stretches, charged with something Leona cannot quite name. Dylan breaks the silence first. "I need to leave for a few days. Pack business in the south." Panic flares in Leona's chest. "You are leaving? Marcus will stay. And 10 others. You will be protected." That is not the same. The words slip out before she can stop them. Too honest. Too revealing. Dylan's expression shifts. Surprise, followed by something warmer. "No, it is not." He crosses to where she sits, kneeling so they are at eye level. This close, Leona can see the silver flecks in his gray eyes, can smell pine and smoke and something distinctly him. "I will return," he says. "You have my word." "Why does that matter to me?" Leona's voice is barely a whisper. "I should not care whether you come back, but you do." Yes, the admission hangs between them, fragile and dangerous. Dylan reaches out slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she does not, his hand cups her cheek. The touch is warm, gentle, and completely inappropriate given their circumstances. Leona should move, should remember that trust and desire are different things, that just because he saved her does not mean he wants her, but she does not pull away. "This is complicated," Dylan says softly. "I know. You are recovering, vulnerable. I should not. I am not helpless." Leona's free hand covers his. "And I know my own mind. Do you?" His thumb brushes across her cheekbone. "Because what I am feeling right now is dangerous for both of us." Her breath catches. "What are you feeling?" Dylan is quiet for a long moment. When he speaks, the words are low and raw, like claiming you would be the easiest thing in the world, and the most catastrophic. Heat blooms in Leona's chest. Not from fear, from want. Why catastrophic? Because you deserve better than a king who cannot give you peace. Better than someone whose protection invites enemies. He pulls back slightly. Better than me. Leona understands what he is not saying. That claiming her would mean war, that it would paint a target on her back, that loving an abandoned Omega is political suicide for an alpha of his standing. Richard taught her this lesson already, but Dylan is not Richard. "What if I do not want better?" she asks. "What if I want you?" The words are bold, reckless, everything she should not say. Dylan's control cracks. She sees it in the way his jaw tightens, the way his breathing changes. "Leona." Her name is a warning and a plea. "I am not asking for forever," she says quickly. "I am just asking for honest. For now. Can you give me that?" Dylan searches her face, looking for doubt, perhaps, or hesitation. He finds neither. "Yes," he says finally. I can give you that. Then his mouth is on hers. The kiss is careful at first, testing, making sure she truly wants this. Leona answers by leaning into him, her free hand tangling in his hair. The daughter between them makes the angle awkward, but neither pulls away. The kiss deepens, not rushed or desperate, but deliberate, like Dylan is memorizing the taste of her, the feel of her lips against his. When they finally separate, both are breathing hard. That was, Leona cannot find the right word. Dangerous, Dylan finishes, but he is smiling slightly. Very dangerous. I am not afraid. You should be, maybe, but I am not. Dylan rises slowly, putting distance between them. The loss of his warmth is immediate. I need to go, he says. But when I return, we should talk about what this means, what happens next. All right. He pauses at the door, looking back. Name her. While I am gone, she deserves a name. Then he is gone, leaving Leona alone with her racing heart and sleeping daughter. She touches her lips, still feeling the ghost of his kiss. This is dangerous. Dylan is right about that. But for the first time in months, Leona feels something other than fear. She feels alive. Dylan does not return in 3 days. He returns in 2. Leona hears the commotion outside the cabin before she sees him. Raised voices. Movement. The distinct sound of someone giving orders. She opens the door carefully, her daughter bundled against her chest. Dylan stands in the clearing, covered in snow, and speaking in low tones with Marcus. His expression is dark, troubled. When he sees Leona, some of the tension leaves his shoulders. You came back early, she says. There was news. He dismisses Marcus with a gesture and approaches the cabin. May I come in? Of course. Inside, Dylan sheds his coat and moves to the fire. He looks exhausted, though he tries to hide it. What happened? Leona asks. Richard Porter knows you are alive. The words drop like stones. Leona feels the blood drain from her face. How? Someone saw smoke from your cabin, reported it to the Eastern Ridge Pack. Richard is claiming you stole from him before you left, that you are a fugitive. Anger flares hot in Leona's chest. That is a lie. I know. He wants me to disappear, wants to justify what he did. Yes. Dylan's voice is cold. He also sent a message, demanding your return, claiming parental rights to the child. Leona's arms tighten around her daughter. He has no rights. He abandoned us. I agree. But he has influence with the Eastern Ridge Alpha. They are pressuring me to surrender you. Fear claws at Leona's throat. Are you going to? Dylan's eyes snap to hers, fierce and certain. Never. The single word carries absolute conviction. Then what do we do? Leona asks. We fight. But I need you to understand what that means. Dylan crosses to her, his expression serious. If I openly defy them, if I claim protection over you despite their demands, it will cause conflict. Other alphas will question my authority. Some may see it as weakness. Then maybe you should. No, he cuts her off gently. I am not giving you up, Leona. I need you to understand that. Whatever happens, you and your daughter stay here, under my protection, even if it costs you. Especially then. Leona stares at him, overwhelmed. Why? Why risk so much for us? Dylan is quiet for a moment. When he speaks, his voice is raw with honesty. Because the thought of you going back to him makes me want to burn the world down. Because when I am away from you, all I think about is coming back. Because you make me feel things I swore I would never feel again. His words steal her breath. Dylan, I am falling for you. He says it simply, without flourish. I know it is too fast. I know the timing is terrible, but it is the truth. Leona's heart pounds so hard she can feel it in her throat. I named her. The abrupt change of subject makes him blink. What? You told me to name her. I did. Leona shifts the bundle in her arms, revealing her daughter's sleeping face. Her name is Hope, because that is what you gave me when I had nothing left. Dylan's expression breaks open. Raw emotion flashes across his face, gone too quickly. Hope, he repeats softly. He reaches out and gently touches the child's tiny hand. It suits her. They stand there in silence, the weight of everything unspoken pressing between them. Leona makes her choice. I am falling for you too, she whispers. I tried not to. Tried to tell myself it was just gratitude or survival instinct. But it is more than that. Dylan's hand moves from Hope to Leona's face, cradling her cheek. This will not be easy. Nothing worth having ever is. Other alphas will challenge me. Some may try to hurt you to weaken me. I am not afraid. You should be. Then be afraid for both of us. Leona leans into his touch. But do not walk away. Please. Dylan's restraint finally shatters. He kisses her with urgency this time. One hand tangled in her hair, the other careful to avoid Hope between them. The kiss is deep and claiming and full of promise. When they break apart, both are breathing hard. If I do this, Dylan says against her lips, if I publicly claim you as mine, there is no going back. I do not want to go back. Richard will fight. Let him. He never wanted us anyway. The Eastern Ridge Pack will see it as an insult. Then they will have to live with being insulted. Dylan pulls back to look at her fully. You are certain? Yes. No hesitation, no doubt. He searches her face one more time, then nods. Then we make this official. How? Tomorrow. I call a gathering. Invite the neighboring alphas. And I claim you in front of everyone. Leona's stomach flips. That seems dramatic. It needs to be. There can be no question about your status. No ambiguity that someone can exploit. What will you say? Dylan's smile is sharp and fierce. That you are under my protection. That anyone who threatens you threatens me. That your daughter is part of my pack now, regardless of blood. And Richard? Richard can challenge me if he wants. It will end badly for him. The cold certainty in his voice should frighten her. Instead, it makes her feel safe. Stay tonight, Leona says impulsively. Not by the door. Here, with us. Dylan hesitates. Leona, I am not asking for anything you are not ready to give. I just do not want to be alone. Not tonight. After a moment, he nods. All right. They settle by the fire. Dylan sits with his back against the wall. Leona curls beside him. Hope between them. His arm comes around her shoulders, holding her close. Tell me about your pack, Leona says quietly. So he does. He talks about Marcus, his second, who has stood beside him for 10 years. About the territory they protect, vast and wild. About the responsibilities of leadership, the constant vigilance required to keep everyone safe. Leona listens, asking questions, learning the shape of the life she is stepping into. Eventually, exhaustion pulls her toward sleep. Her head drops onto Dylan's shoulder. Thank you, she murmurs, for choosing me. Dylan presses a kiss to her hair. Thank you for letting me. Outside, the wind howls. Snow continues to fall. But inside the cabin, 3 souls rest together, bound by choice and growing affection. Tomorrow will bring challenges, conflict, consequences. But tonight, they have this. And for now, it is enough. The gathering takes place at dawn. Dylan's territory is neutral ground, which means the visiting alphas cannot refuse the invitation without insult. They arrive in clusters, wary and curious, their packs spreading out along the tree line. Leona watches from the cabin window, Hope sleeping against her shoulder. Marcus appears at her door. It is time. Her hands shake as she wraps Hope more securely. She wears the new clothes Dylan brought, simple but clean. Her hair is braided back. She looks as presentable as someone who gave birth in a forest can look. What if they reject me? She asks quietly. Marcus's expression softens. Then they will have to go through our alpha. And trust me, no one wants that fight. It is not exactly reassuring. but it is honest. Leona follows Marcus out into the cold morning air. 20 wolves wait in formation. Dylan's pack. They do not speak as she passes, but several nod respectfully. Acknowledgement, if not acceptance. Dylan stands at the center of the clearing, facing the gathered alphas. He looks every inch the King Marcus called him. Tall and commanding, silver eyes sharp as blades. When he sees Leona, his expression warms fractionally. "Come," he says, holding out a hand. Leona walks to him, aware of every eye tracking her movement. She takes his hand, and his fingers close around hers firmly. "Brothers and sisters," Dylan addresses the crowd, his voice carrying easily. "I have called you here to witness an oath." Silence. The alphas watch with varying degrees of skepticism. "This woman is Leona Frost. She came to my territory seeking refuge. She was abandoned by Richard Porter of the Eastern Ridge Pack while carrying his child." Murmurs ripple through the gathering. Several alphas exchange looks. "I have offered her protection," Dylan continues, "and she has accepted. As of this moment, she is under my direct authority. Any threat to her is a threat to me." One alpha steps forward, older, gray-haired, with a scar across his jaw. "That is a bold claim, Dylan Thorne. Do you understand what you are risking?" "Yes. The Eastern Ridge Pack will see this as interference. Richard Porter has filed a formal grievance. Let him grieve." Dylan's voice is cold. "He has no claim here. He is the father. He abandoned them. That severs all rights." The scarred alpha shakes his head. "It is not that simple. Pack law. Pack law protects fathers who take responsibility. Richard did not. He cast them out to die." Dylan's hand tightens around Leona's. "I will not debate this. She stays. That is final." Another alpha speaks up, younger and aggressive. "And what happens when the Eastern Ridge Pack comes for her? When Richard demands satisfaction? Will you start a war over 1 Omega?" The question hangs in the cold air. Dylan's answer is immediate. "Yes." Shocked silence. "Let me be clear," Dylan says into the quiet. "Leona is mine. I claim her. I protect her. Anyone who challenges that challenges me directly. I welcome them to try." His words are a declaration of war, a line drawn in the snow. Leona feels the weight of every stare, some hostile, some calculating, a few sympathetic. The scarred alpha sighs heavily. "You are making enemies, Dylan." "I have enemies already. What is a few more?" "This could destabilize the entire region. Then perhaps it is time for destabilization. Perhaps it is time we stop treating Omegas like property to be discarded when convenient." The words ring out, challenging and fierce. Several alphas shift uncomfortably. Others nod slowly, as if considering. The younger, aggressive alpha sneers. "You risk your authority for a woman you barely know. For a child that is not yours. That is weakness." Dylan's smile is dangerous. "Would you like to test that theory?" The challenge is explicit. The younger alpha pales slightly but does not back down. "Maybe I would." Then step forward. Tension explodes. Wolves on both sides tense, ready for violence. But before it can escalate, the scarred alpha raises a hand. "Enough. This is not the time or place." The younger alpha backs down reluctantly. "Dylan Thorne," the scarred alpha says formally, "your claim is witnessed. We will carry word of this throughout the territories. What happens next is on your head. I accept that responsibility." The gathering begins to disperse. Some alphas leave quickly, eager to distance themselves. Others linger, speaking in low tones. Through it all, Dylan does not release Leona's hand. When they are finally alone except for his pack, he turns to her. "Are you all right?" Leona nods slowly. Her heart is still racing, but she is steady. "You just declared war for me. Yes, that was reckless. Yes, I should be angry. Are you?" Leona looks up at him. This impossible alpha who keeps choosing her. "No, I am terrified, but not angry." Dylan pulls her closer, careful of hope between them. I will protect you, both of you, no matter what comes. I know. Do you trust me? It is a serious question, one that demands honesty. Leona thinks about Richard, who promised love and delivered betrayal. About the pack that turned its back when she needed help. About every time trust was weaponized against her. Then she thinks about Dylan, about timber falling in the storm, about steady hands during labor, about carved wolves and impossible choices. Yes, she says, I trust you. Relief and something deeper flash across his face. He leans down and kisses her, soft and claiming, in front of his entire pack. When they separate, Marcus is smirking. Well, that was unambiguous. Dylan ignores him. Take Leona back to the cabin. Make sure she has everything she needs. Where are you going? Leona asks. To prepare. Richard will respond, probably within days. I want to be ready. Fear flickers in her chest, but she pushes it down. Be careful. Always. He kisses her once more, then strides away, calling orders to his pack. Marcus offers Leona his arm. Come on. Let's get you and the little ones somewhere warm. As they walk back to the cabin, Leona looks over her shoulder. Dylan stands in the clearing, surrounded by wolves, planning for war. Because of her, she should feel guilty, should regret causing this chaos, but she does not. For the first time in her life, someone is fighting for her. Not because they have to. Not out of obligation, but because they choose to. Inside the cabin, Marcus checks the supplies. You need anything else? No, thank you. He pauses at the door. For what it is worth, you are good for him. Dylan has been alone for a long time. It is nice to see him care about something again. The words surprise her. How long has he been alone? 7 years. Since his mate died. Leona's breath catches. He was mated before? Yes. Lost her to illness. He swore he would never bond again. Marcus smiles slightly. Looks like he was wrong. Then he is gone, leaving Leona with this new information. Dylan had a mate, lost her, closed himself off, and somehow, Leona broke through those walls. She looks down at Hope, who yawns sleepily. Your father is an idiot for abandoning us. But maybe we are exactly where we are supposed to be. Hope makes a small noise, neither agreement nor protest. Leona settles by the fire, exhaustion finally catching up. So much has happened in such a short time. The future is uncertain, dangerous, full of potential conflict, but she is not alone anymore, and that makes all the difference. 3 weeks pass. Richard Porter arrives with 6 wolves, demanding Leona's return. Dylan meets them at the border and sends them home bleeding and humiliated. Richard does not come back. The Eastern Ridge Pack files a formal complaint with the council. Dylan responds by inviting the council to investigate his territory and confirm Leona came of her own free will. The complaint is dismissed. Other alphas test his borders. Small provocations, calculated insults. Dylan answers each one with measured force until the challenges stop. Through it all, Leona watches and learns. She learns the rhythms of pack life, the morning runs, the evening gatherings, the way wolves communicate in glances and gestures. She learns Dylan's tells, the way his jaw tightens when he is worried, the way his voice softens when he speaks to Hope, the way he looks at Leona when he thinks she is not paying attention. She learns that home is not a place. It is a choice you make every day. One evening, as snow falls softly outside, Dylan finds her in the cabin. Hope sleeps in a cradle Marcus built, tucked beneath warm blankets. She is growing fast, Dylan observes. Too fast. Leona smiles down at her daughter. Soon she will be running with your wolves. Our wolves. The correction makes her look up. Our? Dylan crosses to her, taking her hands. I want you to stay. Not as a guest, not as someone under protection, as my mate. Officially. Leona's heart stutters. Dylan, I know it is fast. I know there are still dangers, but I also know I love you. I love hope. I want this to be permanent." Tears prick at her eyes. "You barely know me. I know you refuse to give up when most people would have died. I know you love your daughter fiercely. I know you make me laugh and challenge me and make me want to be better." He squeezes her hands gently. "That is enough. What if Richard comes back? Then we deal with it. Together. What if the council changes their mind? Then we fight them. Together. What if I burn your breakfast?" Dylan laughs, surprised. "Then I will eat it anyway and lie about how good it tastes." Leona wipes her eyes, smiling through tears. "You are ridiculous. Is that a yes?" She looks around the cabin, at the solid walls that replaced broken branches, at the cradle where her daughter sleeps safely, at the man who descended from the trees with timber and wolves and changed everything. "Yes," she whispers. "It is a yes." Dylan pulls her into his arms, holding her like she is something precious. "Thank you." "For what?" "For trusting me, for choosing me, for being strong enough to survive until I found you." Leona burrows into his warmth. "Thank you for seeing me, for staying, for building something real from broken pieces." They stand there in the firelight, two survivors who found each other in the wilderness. Outside, wolves howl in celebration. The pack senses the shift, the official binding of their alpha to his chosen mate. Hope wakes and fusses. Dylan releases Leona so she can tend to their daughter. He watches them with an expression of such profound contentment that Leona's chest aches. "I have something for you," he says suddenly. "Another carving? Better." He leaves and returns moments later with a wooden box. Inside, nestled in soft cloth, is a necklace. The pendant is silver, shaped like interlocking wolves. "It belonged to my mother," Dylan says quietly. "She gave it to my father when they mated. It represents choosing your pack, your family." Leona touches the pendant reverently. "I cannot accept this." "You can. You should." He lifts it from the box and fastens it around her neck. "Because you are my family now. You and Hope. That is all that matters." The weight of the necklace settles against her skin. A promise in silver. Leona kisses him, slow and deep, pouring everything she cannot say into the gesture. When they separate, Dylan rests his forehead against hers. "Welcome home, Leona Frost." She smiles. "I think I have been home for a while now. I just did not realize it." Outside, the storm that drove them together has long since passed. Spring is coming, new growth, new possibilities. Leona thinks about the broken branches she dragged through snow, about the impossible shelter she tried to build alone. She thinks about the alpha who watched from the trees, who descended with timber and wolves and impossible kindness. And she realizes that sometimes, when you refuse to give up, when you keep building, even when everything seems hopeless, help arrives in unexpected forms. Sometimes it arrives with silver eyes and steady hands. Sometimes it arrives with a pack that kneels in the snow and builds you a real home. Sometimes it arrives just in time. Leona holds her daughter close, leans into Dylan's warmth, and lets herself believe in the future. Because broken branches became solid timber. Because abandoned became chosen. Because survival became belonging. And love became the strongest shelter of all. If this story moved you, if Leona's fight for survival and Dylan's impossible choice stayed with you, then you are exactly where you belong. Welcome to Ariel Romance Library, where abandoned hearts find their way home, and love is always a choice, never a cage. Like this video, subscribe for more powerful love stories, and comment where you are watching from. The Alpha King's world is vast, and more stories wait in the northern wilderness. Stay for the journey, because here, no one builds their cabin from broken branches alone.